Okay, Jessica, so now, is it okay if we check your rectum? What? I got your attention with that one, didn't I? These are actual words that have been said to me. Welcome back to another episode of jessvscrohns. This week is the one with the teaching hospitals. The great and ridiculous and fun and sometimes frustrating thing about living in Toronto or living near Toronto is having this access to teaching hospitals. When I was first diagnosed, I was lucky enough to be able to have a doctor at Sick Kids. And then from Sick Kids move on to Mount Sinai, graduate to Mount Sinai, and then from Mount Sinai through various extra side effects and things of the medication and my disease, I found myself at Sunnybrook to see a dermatologist. All three of those hospitals are amazing hospitals, but they're amazing because they work with new young doctors who are learning, and they have doctors at the top of their field teaching, and they have patients willing to be there to teach or be test subjects essentially. So when I was first at Sick Kids, one of my most memorable moments is having this fellow who was a regular fellow. At the time I was going to Sick Kids often. I was back and forth between being healthy and sick, and when I wasn't doing very well, I was there like every few weeks or once a month, sometimes every week. And I got to know the nurses, the assistants, the different clinicians, and the fellows, the resident doctors. This particular resident doctor, he now happens to be one of the head researchers for Crohn's disease, or IBD in general. So it's pretty funny to see his name published, or I've seen him at different talks and stuff. I doubt he would ever remember who I was, but I think I made an impression on him. In fact, he's the one who wrote up my release papers when I graduated over to Sick Kids. When I graduated from Sick Kids over to Mount Sinai. Part of being at a teaching hospital and having fellows is that they go through like every single question that a doctor would first ask you if you were a new patient. This means that I get asked the same question many times and have to be very patient with doctors who are asking questions that either don't apply to me, or I've already said a million times, or I know that it's not relevant even though I might have an answer to it. Regardless, I sit through it because I know how valuable it is, and I know that I have a disease that is very complicated and different from other people with the same disease as me. And so yeah, I allow the questions to happen, and I'm more than happy to answer them. And between the age of 13 and 17, most doctors would disregard your presence or participation in the knowledge of your illness. My mom was with me at every single doctor's appointment. She still goes to every appointment with me because I need those extra ears to hear what's going on. But in my case, when I was at Sick Kids, I wanted to participate in my health. I felt very much committed to understanding what was going on with my health. So I asked a lot of questions. I was very upbeat. For the most part, I had every excuse to not be okay mentally and not want to participate and be upset and grumpy. And so I think I made a real impression on this specific doctor. However, my very first meeting with him, my actual doctor was with him, of course, going through the motions. I was still at a point in my disease where they literally had to check you from mouth to anus. Because that's where the disease can be. It can show up in your mouth, in your esophagus, in every part of your digestive system, all the way until your rectum. And so that specific day, my mom and my grandmother, my mom's mom, my nan, were with me, and I had been asked the question before, but this specific one just totally stands out because of my grandmother's reaction to the question. My grandmother was not expecting this question, and so I think there might have been more than just him and my actual doctor, my actual GI there. I feel like there may have been another doctor, but He comes in, he asks all the questions, he examines my stomach, he presses on it, does all of the normal things, and then says, "Can we now check your bum?" And I'm pretty sure he said it that way, but he may have been more technical. I honestly can't remember. I remember it sort of a few different ways. And the minute he said that, my grandmother lost her shit. She could not stop laughing. She had to excuse herself from the room because she was just laughing inappropriately because she found it to be hilarious. It was just such a matter-of-fact question, and I think my reaction was just like, yeah, okay, because I had been used to it and I knew that it was like really technical and it had to happen, and at the time there were so many issues going on with me that they needed to see every part of my body, and it just completely caught her off guard. She finds the most ridiculous things funny, which is so endearing, and once she starts laughing, everyone else starts laughing, and in fact my mom started laughing at the fact that my grandmother was laughing so hard in this moment. But that's something that comes with being at a teaching hospital. My experience at Sunnybrook has been interesting as well, because I have a dermatologist there that is the head of the department, so when he has fellows with him, they're just like so big-eyed and bushy-tailed because they know they're learning from the best, and they go through all the motions, and an appointment that could probably be 5 minutes ends up being more like 15-20 minutes because these people are getting the opportunity to learn. And I've had a lot of weird things happen to my body that people want to learn from, including my actual doctors, so I'm very generous with my time when it comes to this. But I'm appreciative of people wanting to learn. I'm appreciative of people wanting to learn about, in the medical profession, wanting to learn more about my disease, about Crohn's in general, about health in general, medicine in general. Really, it just comes down to me being incredibly grateful for having access to these amazing hospitals and these amazing doctors, because these amazing hospitals and doctors are building more and teaching more amazing doctors to work at these amazing hospitals. I've been lucky enough to have great doctors throughout my 15 years of this disease, surgeons, fellows, doctors, and so my thank you to this luck, I call it luck because there are so many people in the world that don't have access to this type of medical care, and people literally like an hour across the border from us that don't have access to the same health care, and I'm not going to even get into that discussion, but I know how lucky I am and how grateful I am, and so anything that I can give back to the medical community and teach them, I will 100% do, whether that be tests, surveys, focus groups, whatever. If I am asked to do it and it fits into my schedule, I will make sure that I say yes to it because I think it's important. And really, I get funny stories out of it. That doctor, like I said, is now the head of research for GI, for IBD, for Crohn's in Canada, and I have a hilarious story when I was like 16 years old. And I will always have that memory of my grandmother, I will always have that memory of sick kids and that doctor. And again, it's like I've said before, if you can't laugh at yourself at this disease, then what is the point? Thank you again for watching. Have a great night.